Hello, everybody. It's George from Ireland. So, welcome back to the channel. And in this, I'm commenting on the victory of the Freiheitliche Partei Österreich, which won the parliamentary elections in Austria just yesterday. It was widely trailed in the media that this is going to happen. And some people are horrified. I remember way back in 2000 when the FPO was led by Dr. Jörg Haider, the late Dr. Haider. And many people were aghast and said, "Oh, this is monstrous. The FPO, they're Nazis and so forth." And really, nothing came to pass. So it was really a storm in a teacup. Now, I don't agree with the FPO on much. I would probably vote for the Volkspartei rather than the FPO. But people really need to calm down. There is so much ado surrounding this, and people should stop all this preposterous rhetoric. It's just a hyperbolic. Yeah, that's the word I was reaching for. Um, so they have said some unpalatable things about Muslims, and I have no truck with Islamophobia. I've spent some years in Muslim countries, had Muslim housemates and Muslim girlfriends and things like that. I taught at a school where over 90% of the pupils were Muslims. So I certainly don't think that Muslims are automatically or mostly bad people, any more so than Buddhists or atheists or anyone. Uh, anyway, I disagree with them on a lot. They want to abandon Ukraine. Note that Austria is not a member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization because Austria was separated from the Third Reich at the end of the Second World War, wrongly called the first victim of the Third Reich, although Austria was actually quite eager to join. And in four occupation zones: Soviet, American, French, and British, and then Vienna within that subdivided into five zones, one for each of the occupying powers, and the fifth, the city centre, which rotated from month to month between those four nations. But in 1955, it was agreed that they all withdraw, but in return, Austria would remain neutral forever. So we're not to join NATO. Finland wasn't to join NATO according to a treaty with the Soviet Union in 1944, but they just joined it the other year. And Austria might say, we're going to break this treaty as well in view of the Ukraine war. But actually, there's not much of a groundswell of support for that. But the Freedom Party wants to be neutral on the Russo-Ukrainian conflict and not impose any sanctions. I don't doubt that that's their right. They don't actually want to leave the European Union, that they make more Eurosceptic noises. Now, it was founded in 1956, and people say former Nazis founded it. Well, that is true, but you find former Nazis are the Social Democrats or the Volkspartei as well. But somehow that's all right, because, of course, many intelligent, ambitious young adults were in the National Socialist Party, partly for self-advancement, partly they're duped by the propaganda or whatever, just conformism. But somehow it's forgivable, and they founded the other parties, not this one. Now, in the run-up to this election, two FPO was it members were filmed singing an SS song, which is of course distasteful. But let's not jump to conclusions. They might just like the song. They might be singing it in derision or something like that. It doesn't prove that they believe in the National Socialist ideology, which is of course rebarbative. It's a species of socialism that I revile. It is racist, is particularly anti-Semitic, and nobody can forget the annihilation of a third of all the world's Jews in just 3 years. So Nazism certainly is evil. I wouldn't want that back at all, and actually catastrophic for Austria as well as Germany. Um, Anyway, so they've wanted lower taxation, things like that, nevertheless supporting the welfare state. They say that they're somewhat libertarian. Yeah, they were critical of that duopoly, the SPO and the OVP, who ruled the country intermittently alternately, or sometimes in coalition for about 50 years. Um, so they say that the immigration is too much. All right, that doesn't have to be racialist to say that. They've assiduously courted the Serbian ethnic minority. Quite a few Serbs moved in and became citizens. And some of the Serbs are anti-Muslims as well because of the Bosnian Muslims and the wars in the former Yugoslavia. Yeah, they keep banging on about the homeland and say that they're German rather than Austrian. They don't formally propose Anschluss any longer. And okay, I mean Anschluss, I wouldn't object to that connection. Could be completely harmless, but because of how it was done in 1938 and what happened subsequently, people say, nah, no way. All right, well, that's if Germany and Austria want to unite, that's up to them. Just so long as they don't attack anybody else, and there's no suggestion that they would do. Um, And they're certainly not anti-Semitic, the FPO. So a lot of nonsense is talked about them because we know that anti-Semitism is a key plank of Nazism, and the FPO is, if anything, philo-Semitic, and has reached out to Israel, has been very Zionist, has advocated for some of Israel's shocking attacks on the Arab world. So there's absolutely no way you can say they're anti-Semitic. I'm very glad that they're not, but we mustn't go to being a sort of anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab either. No racialism. We must never have advocacy for crimes against civilians in any war. So I think it is preposterous that people suggest that somehow the FPO, if they're allowed into government, is going to reopen the concentration camps. It's all very well for people to say that. I know it makes people feel so righteous, so virtuous, so valiant to be denouncing the National Socialists, and they think that they could be heroic anti-Nazis in the 1930s or something like that. It's such a kerfuffle. Um, so that's them. I don't think there's that much to worry about. Will they get to form a government? I have my doubts. I think that the Sozialistische Demokratische Partei Österreich and the Volkspartei Österreich will probably cobble together a coalition together with Die Grünen and whoever else. And remember, the president of Austria is not obliged to offer the chancellorship to the leader of the largest political party. There's only a plurality of the votes that the Freiheitliche Partei Österreich has won. So I think that Herbert Kickl, their chairman, is unlikely to be the next chancellor. We shall see. They got 29% of the vote in the results, which is still provisional, slightly ahead of the Österreicher Volkspartei, which got 26.5%. So anyway, will they be ushered into office? We'll see. But for the Bundeskanzler Karl Nehammer, he's a member of the Österreichische Volkspartei, I think he's probably going to be kicked out. The Sozialistische Partei Österreich, if I got that right, they're only near 21% of the vote. The Neos 9%, the Greens got 8%, and so on. And there are various very small parties like the Beer Party who got only 2%. So anyway, they want to beef up their defense of Austria so that they won't need to join NATO. And this is the Freedom Party, the Freiheitliche Partei Österreich, also has amicable relations with Orban Viktor, who's the Prime Minister of Hungary, been there for 12 years with his Fidesz as a young Democrat. So not that young anymore. Fidesz, founded in the late 1980s during decommunization. So they see him as a role model. And obviously they hark back over a century ago to the dual monarchy, when the Emperor of Austria was also King of Hungary, and there was cordiality there. Obviously didn't end very well with them of the First World War. I don't think they're trying to rebuild the Habsburg Empire. We shall see. Anyway, there have been demonstrations in the streets of Vienna and other Austrian cities as well. People hurling this branding reproach at the Freiheitliche Partei, saying that they believe in Nazism and so on. So it's redolent of what happened late last year, November 2023, when the Partei für die Freiheit in the Netherlands won. Geert Wilders, the notorious anti-Muslim demagogue, he was the leader of the party, but he didn't become prime minister. It just seemed impossible to arrange a coalition that way. So he stepped aside and allowed somebody else to do that. So President van der Bellen of Austria, he's unlikely to appoint Kickl to be chancellor. So I think there's not much to worry about. People really need to dial down the temperature on this one. A lot of nonsense is talked about it. Anyway, thank you for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe to me on Patreon, donate on PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Goodbye, everybody.